Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I almost said good morning. You may be listening to this any time of day, so good day to all of you out there. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have the honor of hosting Todd Sullivan. Todd is let me get this list ready, Christian husband, dad, athlete, coach, and 30-year veteran of the United States Navy, to name some of his accomplishments. He's held positions in corporate HR, been CEO of a startup, and now co-owns a CrossFit gym and his own coaching business. He's an avid reader, and last but certainly not least, loves spending time with his wife, Amy, which family first. We love that here. We'd love to hear that. Todd, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thanks, Kevin. I am too. I'm excited.
Let's talk about your beginning, what I sometimes like to call your superhero origin story. How did you get your start as a coach? And that could be like, for a lot of coaches, there's this process of discovery where they kind of realized or were told by some trusted mentors or confidants that, maybe you kind of do this already. Maybe you should do this for a living. And then how did you go from there to starting your own coaching business?
Yeah, so I'm a lot of exactly what you just described. So retired from the Navy, where I did a lot of mentoring and coaching, and really just felt like that was a part of my role as a leader. Went into that first job after the Navy, after uniform, was an HR manager, and really blessed to have this good friend, and was the director of learning and development, sit next to me. And as our friendship grew and we talked about things, one day he hands me a book, Coaching for Performance by Sir John Whitmore. And he said, Todd, this is what you should do. Like, you're having $3,000 conversations all over this building and you're coaching people, and really, like, this is where I see you. And so it's kind of funny because when I was retiring from the Navy, I got asked what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I don't know how to quantify this in a job, but I feel like I'm called to help make people and organizations better. And I think we do that by making the people better. So I had no idea at the time that coaching was a vocation. I was kind of sheltered after 30 years in the Navy.
It's so funny. It's like, it really is the answer to a question. It's kind of how it comes about, isn't it? You're just like, you're looking for, you have these attributes, these desires in you to serve, to give back, to help people become better versions of themselves, more of what they want to become. And usually it's that combined with someone you trust, someone close to you, saying to you, like, you know what? I know you see these things in yourself. I want you to know that I see them too. Other people see them too. And you should really do this. Whatever do this looks like, you should do it. And then it just basically, coaching becomes the answer to that question. What should I do next with these things that I feel and these skills I have and these ways in which I want to serve? And so I love that. It's simply like, you asked yourself, what now after a full career in the Navy? And it's like, well, coaching is the answer.
Yeah.
So let's bring it up to present day. Obviously, it's probably been a long journey. What is your coaching business like now? And I've been asking this question in a particular way. Who do you coach and how do you coach them? The who being like generally who's your client base, like professionally, personally, where they might be at, like C-suites or mid-management, wherever it happens to be. And then the how being, is it primarily one-to-one coaching? Do you do a mix of like small to medium-sized group coaching? Do you do like keynote addresses for larger audiences? Do you have courses, things like that? Maybe all of the above. So who do you coach and how do you coach them?
Yeah. So small business owners, a couple of people going through life or career transition, and a few like up and coming leaders. I've also coached some pastors, and a few people outside of there, but really I'm finding that sweet spot for me is that leader of a team, or a smaller organization that's really looking to grow and develop both personally and professionally. Mainly one-on-one. I've done some speaking on coaching and 2 groups. I have coached a few groups. I really like the knee-to-knee conversations that are one-to-one, where you really are able to watch that one person and see them figure out the process. Like, I get so much intrinsic value from that I hate going away from that.
That always seems to be the case. That's maybe the number one reason why coaches will primarily stay focused on the one-to-one aspect of coaching, because you can do a lot of things to replicate some of that experience on both sides of the need conversation in increasingly larger groups. But there's really nothing like that one-to-one where you're watching the idea, the notion dawn on their face. Like it's almost like light hitting their face, like a rising sun, and just being present for that and being able to see that and share that in that one-to-one intimate moment. There's really nothing like it, is there?
No, that's the best. And my wife, like, I'll come down from a coaching and I'll be beaming, and I can't talk to her about, the specifics, or any of that. But she says, like, obviously you had another great conversation. Like, so she can see it in me when I get done with a conversation.
Oh, I love it. It's the light always leaves a trace. It always leaves evidence, more than a trace in many cases. There's this magnifying effect. And I find myself coming back to this analogy over and over and over again as I talk to coaches and experience different kinds of coaches and different kind of coaching, that a rising tide raises all boats. Absolutely. And I love that about the coaching industry and individual coaches, basically the entire category of like all coaching that I've been able to talk to through this podcast and elsewhere. There's just this unified sense of we are together making each other better. And it's so powerful. And yeah, that beaming smile. In fact, just like these conversations I have just on this podcast, I'll find myself with my cheeks will be rosy and like a little bit sore because I find myself just smiling for having been able to just share about these, not even the specific stories, there's a light that just comes right through. And you definitely have it. I'm beginning to gush now a little bit because I tend to get my own rising tide of positive emotions whenever I talk about it, because it's just so inspiring to be even a small part of it. And I just love that more and more people are seeing and embracing the value of coaching and exactly what it can do for them and for those in their lives that they're trying to serve. Absolutely. I agree. I keep making statements instead of asking questions. Let's talk about what might be coming up in the not too distant future. And obviously we're already kind of deep into 2022, which I'm still grappling with how fast this year has been flying by. But what's coming up for you in your coaching business in the next like 6 months, 12 months, maybe right around the corner that you're excited about? Yeah. So one of the things that I've gotten more comfortable with is getting out there and saying, I'm a coach and this is what I want to help you do. And I want to partner with you to help you achieve. That's been a struggle for me. And it's not that I don't value what I do, but I think because of those 30 years in uniform, and it was just part of who I was, and I was just doing it, that saying, I do this, as a vocation, I do this for a fee, just didn't feel great to me. And I wrestled with that, and I've gotten coached on that. And so I've got some really good opportunities to get out in front of some large groups to talk about some of my favorite things like leadership. And I believe that those opportunities are going to help, grow the opportunity for me to partner one-on-one with people, or, potentially some small group in an organization, and really help organizations and people get better. Man, it's so tricky, self-promotion, isn't it? It's like, and I find that to be a pretty common attribute of a lot of coaches, because there's such a focus on service and finding ways to serve and to help. And sometimes, at least at first blush, there's a difficulty finding compatibility between that desire to serve and to also self-promote in a way that serves that service, so to speak. It's tricky because a lot of times, like, you think like, I can kind of tell you're not someone who likes to brag on yourself necessarily. You value yourself and what you can bring to the table, but you're not necessarily looking to go out there in the street corner and sing your own praises. It doesn't feel quite right. It doesn't feel like it's in your character, right? At least at first. No. And, it's interesting that we talked about that serve. So the very first podcast I was ever interviewed for a guy who has a networking organization, and he called it Tales from the C-Suite. After our discussion, he titled it Built to Serve.
And the more I've thought about that title, the more I took that as such a huge compliment that he saw that I'm looking to serve others in what I do. And that's really, but to do that, I have to be able to tell people what I do and to have the conversation with them about what I do.
I love that. I love that term build or built, because it's not just the intention to serve. It is, no, I am intending to serve. I'm going to draw my blueprints. I'm going to create my plan. I'm going to build this. I'm not going to do it alone, because no one builds something like that alone. You do it with people that help you. You help them. And I love, yeah, it's such a, I mean, 3 simple words, built to serve, describes everything, doesn't it? Describes everything that we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. Man, I can explore just that topic probably for another hour. It's so rich. Okay, before I go, because we're already getting pretty close to time, where do you, and I like to ask this question in a certain kind of way, where do you like to be found online? And also, where do you like to connect and engage online? Like, do you have a particular social media where you like to have conversations? Obviously, you have a website, of course, where people can find out more about you. But yeah, how do you like to be found, and where do you like to connect?
Yeah, I have found LinkedIn has become my really favorite place to connect. It's just, because I have my personal profile and my company profile there, People Always Mindset. And then, but I built a Facebook page, People Always Mindset. I built an Instagram page, People Always Mindset. They're both a little bit newer, so still kind of catching up. But, and I've really been fortunate that people have reached out through my website, because there's a way to connect to me there. And so I like all of those. One of the things that I like about people seeing my website is I think it gives them a better snapshot of who I am. There's the professional Todd, the everyday Todd. There's, pieces on there. And I think that's important to understand who a person really is before you engage with a conversation, because coaching's intimate. And, we're going to talk about things that give us pause. And, you should know some things about me before we have those conversations.
That's actually what has helped me and a number of the people I know that are other coaches I know unlock the whole self-promotion puzzle, is that it's not really self-promotion. It's letting someone see you before they've met you, letting someone get to know you a little bit before they've even been in the same room with you. Because that first step on the trust journey is so important for really any endeavor that you're doing that involves connecting with people, but especially with coaching, and being available like that in a way that people can understand and consume. That was really the key for a lot of coaches I've talked to unlocking that self-promotion aspect of things, being like, no, this is just me making myself available, setting the tone and the stage for the intimacy and the vulnerability that will be required for our coaching relationship. And it's just like, I feel like it puts people both at their ease and also excites them to get to know more about you. And that's ideally what you're doing with your website, with your social media. And I find that also, I agree with you, LinkedIn has really become my favorite social media platform, because you can connect with people, you can engage in ways that are surprisingly meaningful. Just even if you're just direct messaging, or even if you're just, reading some, people post some excellently intimate and just very insightful articles about themselves, about their lives, or about their experiences on LinkedIn. And I'm like, is this my favorite social media platform now? I never would have thought, 5 years ago, I never would have thought LinkedIn would be my favorite.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And I love the part that you talked about the DMing, because I posted something recently and it didn't get a lot of, comments on it or anything like that. And I was kind of bummed a little bit, but I received several DMs about it, and which told me that it was something that really connected with that person way more than them just leaving, hey, thanks for sharing, or, and it was all my old command philosophy when I was a commanding officer in the Navy, and just how it relates to, taking care of people. And the fact that I was able to engage with people who knew me and didn't know me personally, really, that showed me the power of a really good social media tool.
That's the name of the game: deepening the relationship you already have and meeting people you otherwise wouldn't have met.
Yeah,
that's the power. That's the magic. I could have this conversation for a lot longer. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we go?
Not really. I think, yes, let me change that. Yes. I think coaching, while it's becoming a little bit more mainstream and understood, I think it's worthwhile for people who are listening that may not have taken that step to find a coach to really explore having a couple of discussions with a coach. Me or another coach, it doesn't matter, but there's so many things that good coaching can unlock and help you make strides that you've been just reaching towards and not able to get to.
Quite frankly, yes. And I love the profile of coaching in general, how it's been rising, and how more, like, I'll encounter more and more people who have either already been coached and had such a positive experience where like they'll cite their coaching experience for like a career change or a big promotion that they got, or like a major life change. A transition from, a retirement can be a struggle for a lot of people whenever it's happening. And just citing their coach, like when you think about, it's like, oh, my wife and my family were so integral to this transition. And also I had a really great coach. And I'm hearing that come up in casual conversation so much more often. And I want to echo what you just said. I want to encourage everyone, whether you've already had a good experience or not, whether you haven't had any experience with coaching, just have some conversations. You don't have to necessarily put a whole lot of money on the table, at least at first. Just have some conversations, get an understanding, a little bit of a taste for the kinds of servants that are out there waiting to help you, because they're out there, they're everywhere, they're skilled, they're capable, and they want to help. And it's just, and like you were saying, and I love that you pointed this out. If it's not you, you probably know a coach who might be more perfectly suited to someone who reaches out to you. And it's, that rising tide.
Yeah. No, there's been so many people I've said, I don't think I'm the right coach for you, but I know who I think is. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. And there's a lot of things right with it. I love it so much. Todd, thank you for being here today and having this conversation. Like I said, we could have done this for a while, but I'm really grateful for your time.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to spend some time with you today.
This has been great. I hope you, the audience, have also enjoyed this. Reach out, find Todd, find him on LinkedIn, find him on his website, find out more about him, have a conversation. It'll be delightful. Trust me. And we will talk to you very soon.